All right, so Oregon's got their next and second of the cycle basketball transfer for Dana Altman and company. TK goes by TK. It seems TK Simpkins is transferring to the Ducks from Elon. Now, I'm going to give you 60 seconds while I talk about some other things to in your head if you can tell me which conference Elon plays in. So, Simpkins is 6'4", 184 pounds, averaged 16 points a game. He was an all-conference selection this past year, averaging just over 3 rebounds, about 2.5 assists, also 1 steal per game. I love a guy that is engaged at the defensive end of the floor. He shot 42% from the field, 37% from 3, 76% from the line. Now, the three-point shooting is something he worked on clearly a lot in the offseason from year 1 to year 2 at Elon. He made 58 triples this past season. That was second on the team, 11 of which were 25 feet or longer. He's got some range. His first year with Elon, he shot 29% from 3. That is about, I think the final percentage was like 36.7, but regardless, about an 8% bump in three-point percentage. If KJ Evans ever did that, I would be the happiest person in the world, even if Oregon missed not if Oregon missed a tournament, but you get the point I'm making. So, the answer to my trivia question, by the way, the Colonial Athletic Association, or CAA, is where he came from. All-conference selection this past year. So Simpkins is the second transfer that Oregon has brought in this cycle, along with Devon Pryor from Texas. Now, Pryor is coming from a much more highly regarded program in Texas, of course, out of the SEC, where he wasn't as productive. 3 points a game. And that just made me think of a Game of Zones scene. If you know the one I'm talking about, let me know. But no, I don't think Devon Pryor is Mario Hezonja in cartoon form. But Simpkins, 16 points a game in the Colonial. This, again, both these guys grade as 4-star transfers according to 24/7 Sports. By the way, I see the potential of both. I can see a world where either one of these guys is a starter, either one is off the bench, both are starting, or both are on the bench. Now, more transfer moves are going to be on the way because Oregon lost so many guys from last year and they have added 2, which is, of course, better than just having 1. But there are going to be more names. We're still waiting on Nate Biddle's announcement. That is, frankly, the biggest piece of Oregon basketball news we are all anxiously awaiting right now. Because if Biddle comes back, you have a core trio of starters that are really good and just fueled a run to the round of 32. If you don't have Nate Biddle back, you have 2 starters, Jackson Shellstad and KJ Evans, and then you're trying to figure out where the rest of the pieces fall. So the reason I say that Simpkins might not be a starter for the Ducks is Raheem Moss. So Raheem Moss came in from the MAC last year. Yes, the MACtion Conference, that one. Tuesday night MACtion for football. Yeah, they play basketball too. Shocking, I know. But anyway, he came over. He was a first-team All-MAC selection. That league is better than the Colonial. This is, you hear the term mid-major a lot. The Colonial, frankly, is a low-major conference. Stony Brook is in there, by the way. Some of you might remember that Stony Brook, an FCS program, came to Autzen under Mario Cristobal. That was our first ever look at Ty Thompson, and that's because Anthony Brown got hurt, and Stony Brook kind of gave Oregon an FCS scare. But hey, every coach gets scared by an FCS school at some point. Right, Dan Lanning? Yes, of course. Anyway, so they got the wins both times. That's what matters. Not everybody beats an FCS team at home when they get a scare. I can think of Oregon's 2 biggest rivals both having failed to do so in a couple of instances. So throw that out there for whatever it's worth. So with Simpkins coming from the Colonial, Moss last year in the MAC before he came to Oregon, 15.5 points a game. Also had a really balanced stat sheet for the season. Really impressive. And Raheem Moss, I mean, he had a role this year, wasn't a big one. Less than 2 points a game. So that's why I wonder how Simpkins is going to make that jump, going from the Colonial to the Big Ten. Now, there are a couple of data points from this past season. Against North Carolina, who, whatever you think of them, they were an NCAA tournament team. He had 14 points and 3 assists against Notre Dame, who was not a tournament team, but still is an ACC member in basketball. 17 points and 6 assists. Those are a good couple of data points. Not going to deny that. I just go into both of these transfers really down the middle. Like I see a world where they're both good and they're starters and they're doing great. I see like I just don't know, because I can also see a world where they don't have a huge impact because Pryor has never been asked to do a lot during his career, 2 seasons, and Simpkins, in his 3 years, he had one school before Elon, but the last 2 years with Elon, he was asked to do a lot. He produced, but it's at a lower level of competition. So neither one of those guys is, firing me up. Like, I like both of those moves. I see the upside for both of them, but neither one fires me up like a Brandon Angel TJ Bamba commitment from last year's portal cycle, where I go, oh, I've got a Power 5 level track record of success and production. I don't have that with either of these two guys. So that's why I say it's kind of up in the air for me with regards to what I expect from both of them. But Simpkins, as I mentioned, 6'4", 184 pounds. TJ Bamba is about 6'5", 200. He's not quite as big as TJ Bamba. He's different, but could be in a good way. Now, good 3-point shooter this past year. His shot's a little, not a lot funky, but like a little funky. He kind of side saddles it a bit to his left side. He kind of squishes his knees together as he shoots, but guess what? It goes in. It's not a quick release. It is quick enough. It is how I describe it, at least in the Colonial this past year. Like 58 made threes at a 37% clip. He can shoot coming off the screen, but he's also athletic enough to get downhill. He contorts his body in the mid-range and can have a really lethal pull-up game. Both of these guys, I think, are plus athletes and are capable of being plus defenders. I think that's a non-zero consideration from Dana Altman and his staff when looking at any transfer, as it should be, of course. That's why I want the guy from Arizona. But I think that for Oregon bringing him in, I just struggle to go either way. I'm not like, oh, I hope this isn't the guy, but I'm also like, maybe this is the guy. Like, he's athletic enough. Again, against the Colonial, we'll see with the Big Ten, but did well in those 2 Power 4 games, or Power 5 games, college basketball, Power 5, Big East. So he did well in those games, and he's different than Bamba in that he's not as strong and physically imposing, but he's got much more of a mid-range game. Bamba's mid-range game, he didn't have a super quick release for it, and he was kind of a 3-point shot or drive to the bucket sort of guy. Simpkins is someone who can get to the mid-range, elevate, hit over the top of you. He's someone who can, hit some Keyshawn Bartholomew-esque shots where drives inside, off-balance floater, elevate quickly, get up in the air. It doesn't jump as high as Bartholomew does, or it might not just look that way because Bartholomew was short, but, got way up in the air on his jumper. So I definitely like the move. I definitely see where the staff's heads are at by adding him here. I just don't know that his numbers directly translate over to Oregon, or even if they bring him in to be a starter. There was a point last year where I thought Raheem Moss would be a starter for Oregon. Then they brought in TJ Bamba. So there's still more to come. There's still more to come, but definitely a couple of promising additions for Oregon basketball here. And there will be more on the way. But Nate Biddle's got to be first. That's the guy first and foremost that I would like for them to bring back. I will also wrap up today's show by shouting out Taylor Rhodes and myself. We had a Locked on Ducks bracket group this year. Nothing on the line, just a little fun thing to do. I did finish in first place. Florida won. I picked the national championship game. This was the best year I've ever had picking brackets on the men's and women's side. I was in 94th percentile or higher for both. I picked the women's Final Four perfectly. I picked the men's Final Four. I only hit 2, but those 2 were in the national championship game, and I had the winner as well. But the next closest finisher was Taylor. So, Taylor, mad props, and we shall indeed be chatting soon. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.